And welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Now, the last episode was a little bit of a departure from the regular mission, but this time we're getting back to it. And I will note with interest, by the way, that this save game, this persistence file, we're in the second 202 days into this into the second year 1, day 202 of this particular persistence file. So these flights have been going on for a while now. It hadn't occurred to me it was going on that long until I noticed it earlier. Okay, we have several ships here. We have the Discovery, Lander 1, Lander 2, and the Kethane Miner Mark 9, all orbiting Duna. And now it's time for the Mayflower. So let's fly that one. Alright, here we are. There's the Mayflower on its way to Duna with probably enough fuel to do a braking burn and get into Duna orbit. We hope. We're not entirely sure. There's an awful lot of stuff riding on the performance of the Kethane miner, and it's going to have to get into operation really soon. Okay, let's set Duna as target. Alright, there's our approach. Closest approach, 70,000 kilometers. It's not close enough to call it an encounter. And if I can swing the camera around, you can see why. Our orbit is going way high from that one. So I'm going to see what I can do here to fix that. Drop a maneuver a couple of days out from us. And I'm going to see if I can't bring our orbit closer to Duna's orbit without using a prohibitive amount of delta V. Whoa, alright. That's what 47 meters a second in delta V. I really wish we could get a close view of the encounter. I mean, you can switch focus to any ship, to any planet. You can even switch focus with the tab key. Eventually you can cycle around and switch focus on the maneuver, but can you put focus on the actual encounter? No. That would be very handy. But we have an encounter in 8 days with a Duna periapsis of 47,000 kilometers. Yeah, 47,000 kilometers. Okay, that looks good to me. I'll take it. So let's flip out here. And now the trick is going to be rotating around to get into position for the burn. Because, as you may recall, this ship steers like a shopping center. Wrong direction, wrong direction. Come on. I know wrong direction because the blue marker's up here. I saw a little piece of it. Alright. I know this is going to take a while to get lined up on that node. That's why I set the burn 2 days ahead of time. So I'm going to get lined up on the node, ready to burn, and I'll be back. Alright, here we are. Just about in position. What are you doing? Come on. Line it up. Alright. This thing is so freaking unwieldy. Yell at me for using the crutch if you want, but I'm using Smart ASS to get this thing on the node. As I've just spent the last 10 minutes getting it this far, and Oh man, look at this thing wobble. And I've got fine controls on. Imagine if I didn't. Alright, kill rotation. I'm going to try something a little different here. Kill rotation, smart ASS off. Alright, now a quick burst of time warp. Kill the angular momentum. And just take my time and get into position. Realizing that this thing takes forever to respond to controls. Get lined up in one direction and then work on the other, using quick bursts of time warp to kill the angular momentum when I need to. I'll go ahead and work on this, and I'll cut back in when I've got there. Alright, we seem to be just about on target. SAS locked in to hold it. It took surprisingly less time than I would have expected, which is why I ended up just speeding up the video instead of cutting out. Alright, now time warp 2 days and 9 hours and 35 minutes in. To get to the burn time. And I overshot again, but I don't care. It's 5 hours off, but you know, I'm gonna go for it anyway and see how it turns out. So I don't know why I bother with that. I switched to map view and it's going to go back to default focus. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and burn it. And I'm going to warp it up to about half throttle. This is a fairly short burn, comparatively speaking. For this ship, it's minuscule. And it would really be short if I could use full throttle, but I don't dare with this thing. It's already starting to wobble a little bit. What I didn't take into account was the fact that because this ship is so sluggish and so laggy, that the time warp would be equally laggy in catching up with it. So I hit the advanced increased time warp key one time too many. And it caught up with me fast. All of a sudden I'm frantically scaling back to time warp trying to stop it. It would be nice if the X key, in addition to cutting throttle, would also kill time warp. There's a mod I would use. Okay. 8 meters a second left. Maneuver node is drifting. I'm going to not care and just hold my position, hold my orientation. 3, 2, cut. It's starting to go back up, so we'll just leave it at that. Kill the maneuver node and see if after that we still have an encounter. We do not have an encounter. What is our close approach? 48,000. We are so close to having an encounter. Alright. Let's try another maneuver. Alright. 1.7 meters per second on our current heading. Very good. Warping time ahead. Much more carefully this time. If need be, I'll speed up the video instead. Okay, going a little better this time. If I hit time warp one more notch, I'll fly right past it. So we'll take 12 hours in a minute or two. Coming up on 5 hours. 4, 3, 2, 1, and some, yeah. Trying very hard not to overshoot this time. And it's such a small burn, we'll just go right to T0. Or we'll fly right on past it by 10 or 15 seconds and go anyway. I think we have an actual encounter by the orbit now instead of just the maneuver planner. We'll see in a moment, but it looks promising. Alright. Delete the node. We have an encounter in 4 days. Periapsis 47,000. Which is apparently the limit for how far out you can have an encounter. Okay, let's go ahead and do the time warp again. Okay, we're coming up on the encounter quite quickly. And as soon as we have the sphere of influence change, it's going to be time to stop the time acceleration again and see about another maneuver. fact, I think I want to try and see if I can plot something now. I need to click on the blue line, not the purple one. Well, okay, I'll have to wait until I get into Duna's sphere of influence. Which should be very soon. Okay, we have our maneuver. I can't see Duna. That's not it. That's Beckett Kerbin, in fact. Well. No, not 10 minutes. Let's go 24 minutes. That's decent, I guess, ish. Now, let's see. There's a trick I saw recently. Let's see if I can pull that. Switch to Conics Patch Mode 1. Conics Mode 1. And tab through. Well, now we have focus on Duna. Now, can I rotate the view and see where the Mayflower is? Where's my maneuver handles? How about that part? Oh, there we are, way up there. Well, it gives me an idea where the maneuver is going to have to, the direction I'm going to have to go here. A lot of retrograde, of course. Open that back up. Alright, let's just zero out that velocity. Concentrate on the retrograde. Whoa, hey, wait a minute. And we'll go for just enough velocity to get an orbit and no more. it'll be a really huge orbit. But if you notice how much delta V we're going to be burning here, this is going to take a while. And I'm going for minimum delta V expenditure because we don't have that much. Okay. We have an apoapsis of 47.5. We have a periapsis of 11,474 kilometers. And it's going to cost us 945.9 meters per second at delta V. And now it is once again time to play Chase the Node. And I honestly don't have a clue where it is, so I'm just going to have the steering assistant get the steering going. Well, I'm trying to spot... Oh, no, that's not Duna. That's Duna over there, behind the POW. Yeah. That, I believe, is Duna. Okay. These guys are going to be really far out, but they will be in orbit. At least someplace where a ship can reach them and bring them some fuel. Of course, that ship is going to be bringing fuel a lot of places. Okay, I'm surprised at how smoothly that rotation was. I would have used it sooner if I'd have thought it had been anywhere close to that easy. I really expected Smart ASS to tear this thing almost apart. Okay, we are 20 minutes from the burn, and it's 8 minutes long. 8 minutes 37 seconds, so we'll burn at T-minus 420-ish. Probably ought to burn at T-minus 5, given how I can't use full throttle, and this thing is probably assuming full throttle. Anyway, very careful touch on the time control. I'm not doing very well with that today. Minutes, 8, 7, 6. Okay, a little closer. I'm going to go for 5 minutes. Burn at T-minus 5 minutes, use half throttle. Smartass, I'd appreciate it if you'd stop that. Alright, Smartass off. Quick burst on time warp, SAS on, and we burn. Throttle up to about half. Like our burn time estimate of 8.5 minutes is probably close. Actually, that's probably a pretty good view right there. When we see this lengthen out and curve around, we'll have an orbit. Go ahead and turn that off. And now we have at least 8 minutes of burn, so I'll come back when we're almost done with it. Alright, we're about 3/4 of the way through the burn, and things are progressing. The ship is remaining reasonably stable. It has used up all of the fuel in the Rockamex 64 Jumbo. It's now using this fuel, and I was checking out here because the amount of fuel that these tanks hold doesn't add up to the amount of fuel this is showing, and then that showed up. These home habitat modules each carry 720 liquid fuel and the appropriate oxidizer, except of course for the power plant module, which is carrying nuclear fuel. But if need be, the habitat modules could yet provide more fuel, but I'm hoping to not need it. We've managed to push the escape back from about 3 hours to 13 hours now, and as is typical, most of the change in the projected course is going to happen in the last third or fourth or eighth or whatever of the burn. It was also suggested, and I'm sorry I forgot who it was that said this, it was suggested that in the comments that I should try doing a aerobraking as being probably the only really good economic way to get this thing into orbit around Duna. And I would have done so. I actually looked up a little bit about how to do it, and I saw a video by Stomp Thompson recently in which he showed a really cool trick with the maneuver node system to let you be able to see your approach while you're working the maneuver node. And I would have done that except for one thing. Mayflower was already too close to Duna to be able to make the necessary changes in the course. As you can see here, we're going to end up with a periapsis of 11,000 kilometers, and we're using just about all of the remaining fuel. Well, there is that fuel in the home modules, but I'd rather not use that if I don't have to, because I'm just going to have to replace it. But if necessary, I will, because better to arrive and be able to replace it than to go flying on by and never arrive anywhere. Down to 153 meters a second to go. We are drifting off of the node. I don't like that. Let's see if I can correct that without sending us into some kind of wild oscillations. Very light touch, just taps on the controls. Very minor taps. Get us back on node alignment, although I'm not going to be too picky as long as we get an orbit. Alright, I'm going to cut throttle. Maneuver this thing back on the node. I can remember to hit the correct direction. That's the problem. I was hitting one direction and I needed to be hitting the opposite one. Come on, you're close. Alright, now go this way a little bit. Using time compression, and yeah, I realize that's probably a cheat, but I don't care, it works. This ship needs all the help it can get. I promise you, future ships will be designed much better. It also occurs to me that the XD drive that is moving the Kethane miner around has quantum struts equipped. So I think as soon as it has fuel to do so, I'm going to send it out here to rendezvous with this thing and trade places with the one that's on here that doesn't have quantum struts. I think that will help a lot. Okay, starting to get some significant change in our orbit. Pushing this gate out to almost 2 days now. I should probably also mention that I'm going to be doing a rather long recording session. I don't know how much of this is going to be in one episode. I'm thinking I might be recording several episodes worth here, so if things suddenly cut off, that's why. I'm going to basically record as much as I can and then break it up into 30-35 minute chunks. We're almost there. That arc is swinging around. The node is drifting, but this time it needs to just drift. Cut back the throttle. And the instant we have an orbit, we cut that thing. .28 meters per second to go. It's really too bad about the aero braking not being possible, because honestly I think this ship would make for a very impressive aero braking display. .18 meters per second to go. At this point we could probably finish it on thrusters, but I'm not going to do that. Engine cutoff. Alright, we have an orbit. I can kill that maneuver node. Apoapsis 47,594 kilometers. Periapsis 14,950-ish. It's fluctuating around quite a bit. That'll do for the moment. Now, let's see. Where is Kethane miner? There it is. Let's switch over there. Okay, I was beginning to wonder if it would let me. All right. Yeah, let's see, where are we here? Where are we with this thing? Zooming out. I could have sworn Kethane miner was in orbit. But obviously, it is not. Okay, somebody explain that one to me, because I very distinctly remember putting this in orbit. As a matter of fact, I remember a video in which this thing was put into orbit. is our situation here.